human rights thing doesn't come into it when it comes to being unwell and having psychosis. It's a matter of getting treatment straight away and as quick as possible. Yeah, well, my mental illness started when I was in school. I was 16, and unknowns to myself, I would have been just gradually getting paranoid and gradually getting psychotic. And I then was brought to hospital by my mother, who was a nurse looking out for me, which gave me that support anyway, which was positive. And I was diagnosed as having paranoid schizophrenia. The first episode was 1975, so there was a long few years before the second episode. I would have been working and taking the medication and regularly attending community Summer Hill, which is in Wexford. The second episode was during my working time, which I had problems in work and it began to affect my health, and I started to break down, not sleeping, running on the beach, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do them runs, and I would have eventually broke down. I was brought to the psychiatric hospital by my wife, where I met the consultant psychiatrist, and he immediately admitted me, and I received treatment straight away. I was put into for my own safety, into it's called a padded cell. I suppose there is another name on it now, but at that time it was called a padded cell, where I stayed for 2 weeks in the hospital and started my recovery during my time in the hospital. It was like a war zone mentality where everyone is the enemy and you don't trust anybody. And the capacity to get help wasn't within me, but it was lucky enough my wife would have brought me to where I got the support and help and started recovery immediately, which is terribly important. Like, you know, if it goes on and on, you either take your own life, which I was thinking about, or it just continues where you do harm to somebody if the thoughts are telling you, and the delusional thoughts and voices will also direct you, and you're not within your full capacity of knowing that this is wrong, like if you do something wrong to somebody else. So the early intervention was so important for me. I can't stress how important it was. You know, the involuntary can be a bad experience if you don't have. I was lucky to have the support of my wife there, and she visited me with me 3 children. She brought them up after school. They were only in primary school, and she brought them up, and that was so important. Like, you know, so like that can't be overlooked either. The family support, like, and all of that is part of the recovery and therapeutic for you when you're staying in hospital. When we stay in hospital wasn't. Even though I was in a padded cell for the full time, but it wasn't a bad experience. Like, I didn't want to be in hospital. I didn't know I was unwell, but at the same time, I deep down I needed help. Like and if it's more. I don't look on it now as a human rights. When I went into hospital, I looked on it was where it was a safe place for me to go. And I didn't know my capacity to know where that, like, if I broke my arm, I go to the hospital, I go to A&E. But with mental illness and psychosis that I had, I didn't have the capacity to. I was like where I didn't know I had a broken arm. I didn't know I was unwell. A human rights thing doesn't come into it when it comes to being unwell and having psychosis. It's a matter of getting treatment straight away and as quick as possible. And recovery starts, and then you can start looking at human rights, you know, because if human rights is prioritised before treatment, well, then you're putting the cart before the horse, like, and that's not good for the patient.